Picture this. It's Friday, May 8th, 2026.
Right.
The President of the United States has just ordered the declassification of over 160 top-secret military encounters with unidentified flying objects. And across the globe, I mean, millions of people are furiously hitting refresh on these government websites, right? They're downloading gigabytes of infrared video, redacted mission reports.
Just frantically searching.
Exactly. Everyone is desperately looking for aliens in those files. But, and this is what we're getting into today, what if the most shocking revelation hidden in those documents isn't extraterrestrial at all?
Yeah.
What if the alien we're all looking for is actually like a psychological script written by a Hollywood director 70 years ago?
What's fascinating here is that while the media frenzy is focused on parsing every single pixel of these newly unsealed videos for, crashed saucers or non-human technology.
Like a little green men.
Exactly. The real story, the much deeper structural story, is how our brains were meticulously trained to interpret these ambiguous images in the first place. I mean, our entire modern expectation of government disclosure and of alien life itself was storyboarded on film sets decades before these military encounters ever even occurred.
That is so wild to think about. So welcome to a brand new deep dive, everyone. We have an absolutely massive stack of sources to explore for you today.
We really do.
We're looking at the actual declassified PRSU government records that just dropped.
They're real-world data.
Right. But we're crossing those official military reports with historical film analyses of early science fiction, sociological studies on how modern myths are created, and even the current theological panic surrounding the idea of extraterrestrials.
It is a phenomenal intersection of data. We are essentially mapping the collision point between cutting-edge aerospace technology, human sociology, and honestly, our deepest existential fears.
Now, just to be incredibly clear with you listening right now, our goal here isn't to endorse any specific political administration's transparency record.
Right, absolutely not.
And we aren't here to validate or, debunk the specific theological claims made by religious leaders in these sources either.
Yeah.
We aren't taking sides on the politics or the pulpit.
No.
We're simply acting as your guides, mapping out how these distinct cultural spheres are violently colliding in the source material we have today.
Exactly. Our objective is analysis, not advocacy.
So let's start with the main event, Friday, May 8th, 2026. I remember reading about this release, but I wanted to understand the mechanics of it. The government used a new system called PRSE.
Right?
How exactly does a massive declassification like this actually work on a logistical level?
Well, PRSU stands for the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP encounters.
Okay.
And it's managed by the Department of War. It's not just some disorganized data dump, it's a highly structured, phased rollout.
So it was planned.
Oh, very carefully. Back in February of 2026, President Trump officially directed federal agencies to systematically identify, collate, and declassify records connected to UFOs, or UAPs.
Right? Unidentified anomalous phenomena, as the modern parlance goes.
Yeah, that's the new term.
And he teased it pretty heavily, didn't he? Like in late April, he was at a White House event with the NASA Artemis II astronauts.
He was, yeah.
And he basically told the press corps, we're going to be releasing a lot of things. I think some of it's going to be very interesting to people. It felt like a movie trailer for real life.
And that buildup is sociologically vital.
How so?
Well, when you have top officials like FBI Director Kash Patel going on popular podcasts days before the release to declare that the era of secrecy is ending.
Oh, right.
You are actively priming the public consciousness. You are raising the societal antenna to maximum sensitivity.
Okay, so the drop happens. We get over 160 files. But it wasn't total transparency, right? I saw that over 100 of them still had heavy redaction.
That's true.
And when people see blacked out text, they immediately scream, cover up what's actually under those black bars.
According to the Pentagon's official statements in the files, the redactions are largely operational.
Meaning what?
They aren't hiding the description of the UAP itself. They are protecting the sources and methods.
Oh, gotcha.
For example, if a UAP was tracked by a highly classified next-generation satellite system, the government will release the data about the object.
But they redact the capabilities and location of the satellite that caught it.
Exactly. They also redact the names of specific radar operators or intelligence officers to protect their privacy.
That makes a lot of sense.
No.
But the unredacted stuff, the actual encounters, is wild.
Yeah.
And it's not just modern drone footage. The records go back to World War II.
They do. The chronological scope is immense. For instance, the files include a 1957 FBI report detailing an interview with a man named Ladislaw Krasuski.
Right, I saw that name.
He described witnessing a massive circular vehicle hovering near a German military compound back in 1944.
And the physical description he gave is fascinating. He didn't just say flying saucer.
No, he didn't.
He said the middle section of this craft was moving so rapidly it produced a visual blur, and he explicitly compared it to an airplane propeller.
Yeah, which is a very mechanical, era-specific way to describe an anomaly.
Totally. It matches what he knew at the time.
Exactly. And then you transition into the space race era. The PRSU files officially document astronaut sightings that have been the subject of rumor for decades.
Oh, this is the good stuff.
You have Buzz Aldrin during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969 reporting a sizable object near their spacecraft.
I read that part. He said they put the monocular on it, which is basically a small telescope, and they thought maybe it was one of the panels from their Saturn V launch vehicle reflecting light.
Right.
But the files leave it officially unresolved. And it wasn't just Apollo 11 either.
No, the Apollo 17 commander, Eugene Cernan, described intense flashing lights in deep space.
Wow.
He compared the intensity to a train headlight shining directly into his eyes. And his crewmate, Harrison Schmitt, vividly described the spectacle as looking like the 4th of July, noting there were lots of big ones.
Okay, so we have 1940s propeller blurs and 1960s space flashes. What about the modern stuff, like the visual media?
The modern files rely heavily on sensor data, rather than just eyewitness accounts. There is a March 2023 report of a large blue, featureless triangular object emitting a powerful light hovering near a U.S. national security facility.
A blue triangle.
Yes. And the flight telemetry explicitly notes that its movement was inconsistent with smooth jet propulsion.
Meaning it wasn't flying like a normal airplane. It wasn't banking to turn. It was moving in ways that defy our standard aerodynamics.
Exactly. And in November 2023, U.S. Central Command personnel in Syria reported a UAP shaped like a bouncy ball.
A bouncy ball?
Yeah, that hovered completely stationary for 7 minutes before vanishing. There's also infrared footage from December 2025 showing a thermal anomaly over the western United States.
So we have this massive data drop, and the reactions in our sources are completely polarized.
Completely.
You have politicians like Representative Tim Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna celebrating this as a historic victory for transparency.
Right, they see it as a huge win.
But on the other side, the skeptics went to work immediately.
And this is where the diagnostic muddy waters become apparent. Independent analysts and scientists began reviewing the 28 videos included in the release.
And what did they find?
Well, in several cases, videos purported to show anomalous glowing orbs were rapidly correlated with the flight paths and deployment patterns of military parachute flares.
Right. And my favorite example from the sources there was this video circulating of a mysterious red orb weaving erratically through a wind farm.
Oh, yeah.
People were losing their minds online over it. And then analysts looked at the wind currents and the object's behavior and realized it was literally a red party balloon caught in the wake turbulence of the wind turbines.
It's incredible how quickly things can escalate. Even former President Barack Obama weighed in on a late-night show with a very grounded sociological observation.
What did it say?
He joked that if the government actually had aliens hidden in a subterranean bunker, human nature dictates that some 22-year-old security guard would have taken a selfie with it to impress a girlfriend.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it would have leaked to the internet years ago.
I love that point, because it relies on the mechanics of human behavior over the mechanics of conspiracy.
It does, but it highlights a critical paradox in the source material. The 2024 Department of Defense report explicitly stated they had zero empirical proof that any UAPs were extraterrestrial technology.
A zero.
Right. The Pentagon maintains these are simply unresolved cases. Yet, a massive swath of the public looks at a grainy, pixelated infrared blob from these new 2026 files and immediately, unquestionably, sees an alien spacecraft.
Okay, I have to push back here. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone listening right now.
Sure.
If the Pentagon explicitly says we have no proof of aliens and half of these videos turn out to be flares or balloons, why is the public so incredibly convinced that the government is hiding a cosmic truth?
It's a great question.
Why do we look at a thermal smudge and instantly see a spaceship?
To understand that reaction, we have to recognize that the public is not analyzing that footage in a vacuum. If you want to know why we project these highly specific, vivid extraterrestrial fantasies onto ambiguous military data, you have to look at the origins of our visual vocabulary.
Which is what?
We have to look at the golden age of science fiction cinema.
Wait, so you're saying people didn't always picture sleek silver saucers and glowing engines when they looked at the sky? When did this specific imagery actually start?
From a film historian's perspective, the roots of science fiction cinema go back to the very dawn of the medium.
Really? How far back?
In 1902, the French illusionist Georges Méliès released A Trip to the Moon.
Oh, the one with the rocket in the moon's eye.
Exactly. It features that iconic, surreal image of a space capsule landing directly in the eye of a man in the moon. It proved that cinema could visualize the fantastic in a way literature could only describe.
But for a long time after that, sci-fi movies were mostly considered like B-movie schlock, right? Like
Yeah.
guys in cheap rubber monster suits attacking a cardboard city.
Precisely. They were low-budget serials. But that radically changed in the post-World War II era, and our sources point to one specific, absolute watershed moment.
And what was that?
The 1956 MGM film, Forbidden Planet.
I've heard of Forbidden Planet, but I confess I don't really know why it's considered so groundbreaking. What made it different from the cheap monster movies?
It was one of the very first attempts to elevate the science fiction film to serious philosophical art.
Really?
Yeah, it had an A-list budget, incredible production values, and a script that was essentially an adaptation of William Shakespeare's play, The Tempest, set in outer space.
Well, that's brilliant. So instead of a wizard stranded on an island, you
Yeah.
have a scientist stranded on a planet.
Exactly. Instead of Prospero, you have Dr. Morbius stranded on the distant planet Altair IV.
Okay.
Instead of the magical spirit Ariel, you have Robbie the robot, who represents the helpful, conscious application of technology.
I know Robbie the Robot.
Right. And instead of the savage monster Caliban, you have the film's ultimate antagonist, an invisible, unstoppable force of pure destruction.
But the part of the movie that the sources really focus on the concept that completely rewired how the public imagines alien intelligence is the Krell.
Yes.
Can you explain who they were?
The Krell were a native alien race on Altair IV that had died out 200,000 years before the human rescue crew arrived,
Long gone.
but they left their technology behind. Dr. Morbius takes the human captain down into the planet to show them the Krell's ultimate achievement.
And what is it?
It is a vast underground machine that is 40 miles across. It is powered by 90,000 thermonuclear reactors.
The mechanics of that are staggering. A 40-mile wide machine? What did it actually do?
It was an instrument of pure technological optimism. The machine was designed to bypass physical labor entirely. It allowed every single Krell citizen to materialize literally anything they wanted anywhere on the planet instantaneously through pure thought. They had evolved beyond the need for tools. It was creation by will, powered by an artificial intelligence network.
But they all died in a single night. How does a civilization with that kind of power just vanish?
This is where the film's writer incorporated the contemporary popularity of Freudian psychology.
Oh, interesting.
In Freud's model of the psyche, you have the ego, our conscious, rational self, and the id, our primitive, animalistic, subconscious desires.
Right.
The Krell were highly evolved, but they forgot they still had a subconscious.
Monsters from the id.
Exactly. When the Krell connected their minds directly to a machine of infinite power, they inadvertently gave physical, indestructible form to their darkest, most savage subconscious instincts.
Oh, man.
The machine didn't have a moral filter. It didn't discriminate between their noble conscious desires and their hidden primal rage.
That is terrifying.
In a single night of madness, their own unleashed nightmares wiped out their entire civilization.
That is incredibly dark for a 1950s movie. Dr. Morbius uses a machine to boost his own intellect, and he accidentally unleashes his own id monster, right? Which starts murdering the human crew.
Yes. There is a profound moment of realization at the climax of the film where the human captain yells at Morbius.
What does he say?
He says, "We're all part monsters in our subconscious, so we have laws and religion."
Wow.
The film wasn't saying that technology or space exploration was inherently evil. It was warning about human hubris. It warned of the fatal mismatch between our rapidly advancing technological power and our lagging psychological and moral maturity.
Okay, here's where my mind is going with this. Let's look at today. Are we building the Krell machine right now?
The parallel to modern electronic development is striking. Elaborate on that.
Well, think about the explosion of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms over the last few years.
Right.
The average person isn't really terrified that ChatGPT is going to build a physical Terminator robot with a laser rifle.
No, not really.
The deeper structural fear among tech ethicists is that AI will act as a perfect mirror and amplifier of our own worst human instincts.
A technological amplifier of the I.
Exactly. Bias in facial recognition, algorithmic anger that drives social media polarization, the mass generation of deepfake misinformation, tribalism. These are our modern monsters from the eye.
That's a great point.
We are handing over the keys of our societal infrastructure to complex electronic systems that respond to and amplify our collective subconscious. Forbidden Planet predicted the exact moral crisis of modern AI 70 years ago.
And this is why the film's legacy is so vital to our understanding of the 2026 Peter Arceau files.
How so?
Because it established a lasting cultural trope. Highly advanced alien technology is almost always used as a direct metaphor for human failings.
I see.
When we look at a glowing orb on a Navy infrared camera, we aren't just looking for extraterrestrials. We are fundamentally looking for a reflection of our own anxieties and our own technological aspirations.
But here's what I don't get. It's one thing to have a smart script about Freudian psychology.
Sure.
But how did early filmmakers actually make the concept of the alien feel so viscerally, undeniably real to audiences?
Right.
I mean, in 1956, humanity hadn't even launched Sputnik yet. Space was a total abstraction.
Yeah.
How did they make audiences feel the alien presence?
They had to invent the sonic dimension of the unknown. They had to invent the sound of tomorrow.
The sound of tomorrow.
Yes. And this is a severely underappreciated aspect of how our modern cultural mythos regarding aliens was engineered.
Because before the 1950s, sci-fi didn't sound like sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
If you went to a movie about a rocket ship in 1940, what did it sound like?
It sounded exactly like a Western or romance melodrama.
Really?
Yeah, the studios just used standard orchestral music. Sweeping strings, heavy brass. There was no unique auditory signature to communicate the concept of the extraterrestrial or the future.
So what changed? How did we get the classic UFO sound?
The first major mechanical shift was the introduction of an instrument called the theremin. We saw this utilized heavily in films like The Day the Earth Stood Still in 1951.
I know what a theremin sounds like, that spooky warbling woo-woo
sound.
But how does it actually work? It looks like a metal box with two antennas, and the musician just waves their hands in the air around it without touching anything.
It's a brilliant piece of early electronics. The theron generates sound through heterodyning oscillators.
Okay, what does that mean?
Essentially, it produces two high-frequency radio waves. By moving your hands near the antennas, your body's natural electrical capacitance interferes with the electromagnetic field.
Oh, wow.
This interference changes the frequency and the volume. The resulting sound is a continuous, gliding tone that has no distinct mechanical attack, like hitting a piano key.
Right, it's just a smooth wail.
Yes, it sounds entirely fluid and unearthly. It instantly became the sonic shorthand for an alien presence.
But the sources say Forbidden Planet went way beyond the theremin. They hired two sound artists, Louis and Bebe Baron, and they didn't write music at all.
No, the Barons created what they credited as electronic tonalities. It was the first completely electronic cybernetic soundscape in film history.
Cybernetic soundscape, that sounds intense.
It was. And their methodology was deeply experimental. They didn't use standard instruments. They built customized analog electronal circuits, specifically ring modulators and oscillators that were mathematically designed to behave almost like living organisms.
Wait, how does a circuit behave like a living organism?
They would push these vacuum tubes and circuits beyond their design tolerances. They would power them up, feed signals back into them, and the circuits would become unstable.
Okay.
They would whine, shriek, modulate wildly, and eventually the vacuum tubes would literally overheat, burn themselves out, and die.
They recorded the literal death screams of electronic hardware.
Yes. They recorded these unstable frequency modulations on magnetic tape, then sped them up, slowed them down, and reversed them.
That is insane.
The result was a soundscape that completely bypassed traditional musical theory. It sounded like a living alien nervous system.
Wow.
When you watch the film, the hum of the Krell machine and the roar of the eyed monster don't sound like sound effects. They sound like psychological dread rendered in audio form.
I love this because it explains so much about modern movies. If we trace the evolution of sci-fi soundscapes, you can see how audio cues literally dictate the audience's emotional relationship with space.
Precisely. Forbidden Planet used unstable analog electronics to convey alien terror and technological ambivalence, but decades later, look at Star Wars in 1977.
Oh, right.
George Lucas explicitly pivoted away from electronic dread. He hired John Williams to compose a classic, sweeping, romantic orchestral score.
Because Star Wars wasn't supposed to be scary, it was a fairy tale. The orchestral music made space feel accessible, heroic, and adventurous.
Exactly. And consider Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Oh, classic.
He famously used Richard Strauss's Also Sprach Zarathustra, that massive, triumphant horn fanfare that plays while the sun rises over the earth completely symbolizes the hopeful, optimistic dawn of human progress and our triumphant destiny in the cosmos.
Okay, listener, I want you to try something next time you watch a modern sci-fi movie. Yeah. Take a movie like Denis Villeneuve's Arrival from 2016.
For an example.
When the humans first approach the massive, monolithic alien ships, the soundscape uses this incredibly deep, low-frequency, infrasonic rumble. It creates a physical vibration in your chest. It triggers a visceral, biological feeling of insignificance and caution. Imagine watching that scene on mute.
Wouldn't be the same at all.
Without that sonic cue, a technique pioneered back in the 50s, that giant UFO is just a silent, inert shape on a screen. It loses all of its emotional gravity.
Which brings us back to the 2026 Peer-So-You files. Without the audio-visual vocabulary meticulously invented by Hollywood, a UFO is just a silent grayscale dot on a military display.
Right.
But when the modern public looks at that silent, pixelated footage, their brains automatically supply the missing cinematic soundtrack.
Wow.
Subconsciously, they hear the theremin. They feel the low-frequency dread of the Krell machine. The cinematic conditioning is inescapable.
So by marrying these captivating visual concepts with these terrifyingly alien electronic sounds, Hollywood didn't just entertain us. They inadvertently forged a brand new, robust, modern mythology.
They really did.
But I'm struggling with the leap here. It's one thing to enjoy a movie, it's another to believe it's real. How did people start adopting this cinematic mythology as absolute, real-world fact?
To understand that leap, we have to examine a crucial sociological concept heavily explored by researchers of the UFO phenomenon.
Okay, what's that?
It's the creation of modern myth and what sociologists call the fact-fiction reversal.
And the sources point to a very specific year where this all kicked off, 1947. Tell me about Kenneth Arnold.
In June of 1947, a civilian pilot named Kenneth Arnold was flying near Mount Rainier in Washington state.
Okay.
He reported seeing a group of 9 highly reflective, unidentified aircraft flying in formation at incredibly high speeds.
How fast?
Speeds he estimated at over 1,000 miles an hour, which was beyond known technology at the time.
But it's not just what he saw, it's how he described it to the press, right?
Exactly. When interviewed, Arnold described the movement of the craft as skipping like a saucer would if you skipped it across the water. He was describing their motion, but a headline writer misunderstood and described the shape of the craft as a flying saucer.
And overnight, a cultural icon was born.
Yes.
And literally weeks later, in July 1947, you have the famous Roswell incident in New Mexico, where the military initially issued a press release stating they had recovered a flying disc.
Right, before quickly retracting it and claiming it was just a weather balloon.
But the timing of 1947 is absolutely vital. This isn't just a random year.
No, not at all.
I mean, I'm thinking about the historical context.
Huh.
The U.S. had just dropped atomic bombs to end World War II 2 years prior. The Cold War is freezing over.
The American psyche in 1947 was like an overtuned radar dish.
That's a good way to put it.
The United States had emerged as a global superpower, but for the first time in its history, it faced profound vulnerability.
The nuclear threat.
Exactly. The threat of sudden, invisible nuclear annihilation from Soviet bombers was pervasive. Everyday citizens were subconsciously scanning the skies for existential threats.
I love that analogy of the overtuned radar dish. When you crank the sensitivity on a radar that high, you don't just catch incoming bombers. You start turning flocks of birds and atmospheric anomalies into terrifying monsters.
Precisely. The skies were no longer safe. And into this hyper-vigilant psychological powder keg drops the concept of the flying saucer.
This is where the work of the researcher Jacques Vallée, which is heavily cited in our sources, becomes so illuminating.
Oh, absolutely.
Vallée wrote a seminal book called Passport to Magonia. What is his core theory about why we see UFOs?
Valley argues that the UFO phenomenon is not primarily about nuts and bolts extraterrestrial spacecraft visiting Earth from Zeta Reticuli.
Okay, then what is it?
Instead, he views it as a deeply rooted sociological myth, a continuation of a psychological mechanism that has existed throughout all of human history.
Wait, so he's saying UFOs aren't new?
He points out that for centuries, across different cultures, people have consistently reported encounters with bizarre beings from other realms.
Like what?
Well, in medieval Europe, people saw elves, fairies, and goblins who would abduct humans. In religious contexts, they saw angels, demons, or jinn.
Right.
They believed in a parallel world, a fairyland or Magonia, that existed right alongside our mundane reality.
So why did we stop seeing fairies and start seeing gray aliens with big black eyes?
Because of our changing technological frame of reference, as humanity transitioned into a highly technological post-industrial age, the old framework of fairies dancing in the woods no longer made sense to our modern worldview. We couldn't believe in magic anymore.
But the underlying psychological need to encounter the other, a powerful, mysterious force that transcends our daily lives, remained intact.
Exactly.
So we just gave our mythology a technological upgrade. We replaced the angels and elves of ancient times with extraterrestrials and flying saucers because that fits our current scientific vocabulary.
Yes.
UFOs became, as Valley puts it, our new technological Olympus.
Exactly. And this leads directly into the concept of the fact-fiction reversal.
Hold on, define fact-fiction reversal for the listener. How does fiction become fact?
It happens in societies that are completely saturated by rapid, almost magical technological advancement.
Okay.
When we are constantly exposed to real-world miracles like quantum computing, artificial intelligence, or instantaneous global communication, the boundary between what is scientifically plausible and what is purely fictional becomes severely blurred.
The sources cite a great historical example of this from the 19th century with the invention of the telegraph. Can you explain that connection?
Sure. When the telegraph was introduced, it allowed instant communication over vast distances via invisible wires.
Right.
To the average person in the 1840s, this seemed like literal magic. And suddenly, it spurred a massive boom in the spiritualism movement.
Oh.
People thought, well, if we can talk to someone in London across an ocean via invisible electricity, why can't we use similar principles to communicate with the spirit world?
That makes so much sense.
The reality of the new technology inadvertently validated supernatural beliefs.
And we see the exact same mechanism operating today. You have conspiracy theorists, like David Icke, who frequently utilize entirely fictional concepts.
Oh, yeah.
Like quoting heavily from Carlos Castaneda's fabricated anthropological stories, or referencing the plot of The Matrix.
Right.
And they assert to their followers that these are factual representations of hidden realities. Because real technology evolves so rapidly, the public easily adopts the mindset that what was science fiction yesterday is classified science fiction today.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how this deep distrust of official narratives blends into other areas too.
Like what?
Well, look at how the UFO conspiracy culture frequently merges with other massive cover-up theories, like the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Oh, that's an interesting connection.
When the public sees that elites or governments are capable of burying deeply compromising real-world scandals, it validates their assumption that the government is also hiding crashed saucers.
Right. If they can hide the Epstein client list, they can definitely hide a gray alien.
Exactly. It's all fueled by the same sociological engine of distrust. And then you throw international geopolitics into the mix.
Like China.
Yes. There is a very real possibility that some of these UAPs in the 2026 files are not extraterrestrial, but rather highly classified next-generation drone technology from China or Russia.
Right, which the U.S. military might not want to admit they can't catch.
Exactly. But the public, primed by sci-fi, immediately leaps to aliens instead of adversarial spy drones.
But I have to ask, is it really just a massive cultural feedback loop?
How do you mean?
You're saying Hollywood designs a sleek silver saucer or a gray alien for a movie, millions of people watch it, it embeds itself in our cultural subconscious, and suddenly that is exactly what military pilots start hallucinating in the sky.
What?
Are we really just projecting movie posters into the clouds?
It is a profound, documented feedback loop. As the scholar Diana Walsh-Pasulka notes in our sources, screen images embed themselves deeply in our cognitive memories. Even if our conscious mind knows a movie is fiction, the imagery dictates how our subconscious interprets ambiguous, real-world stimuli.
So when a pilot sees something weird...
Right. When a pilot sees an unidentifiable glare on a canopy or a radar operator sees an anomalous return, Their brain rapidly searches for a matching visual file to make sense of it. And the file it finds was placed there by close encounters of the third kind or the X-Files.
Okay, this brings us to a really intense collision of concepts. If UFOs have effectively become our new secular technological angels, what happens to our actual traditional religions when the U.S. government starts releasing files, like the Piracy Drop, that genuinely suggests we might not be the only intelligent life in the universe?
It creates a severe theological crisis for certain communities. To understand why, we have to look at the paleo-SETI movement,
Right.
which was popularized by writers like Erich von Däniken in the 1960s and 70s with books like Chariots of the Gods.
Right. I always hear the term paleo-SETI, but let's break that down. SETI is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. So paleo-SETI is looking for aliens in the ancient past.
Exactly.
Von Däniken's famous premise can basically be boiled down to 4 words. The gods were astronauts.
Correct. His theory argues that ancient religious texts, mythologies, and megalithic architecture are actually primitive, misunderstood accounts of early humans encountering highly advanced alien technology.
The sources give a fascinating example of this using the book of Ezekiel from the Bible.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic one.
The prophet Ezekiel describes a vision of a wheel within a wheel, covered in eyes, descending from the sky, accompanied by fire, smoke, and lightning.
Right.
Now, historically, theologians interpret this as a vision of the glory of God or a choir of angels. But how does paleo-SETI interpret it?
A paleo-SETI theorist looks at that text and says, Ezekiel wasn't seeing a spiritual angel. He was a Bronze Age human encountering a mechanical spacecraft.
Because he didn't have the words for it.
Exactly. Because he had no concept of aerospace engineering, he had to describe the technology using the only vocabulary he possessed: chariots, wheels, fire, and eyes for windows.
They do the same thing with Greek mythology, right? Like the legend of Daedalus and Icarus flying with artificial wings. They argue that might be an ancient, distorted memory of alien flight suits.
They do. Now, while mainstream archaeologists and theologians deeply reject these interpretations as pseudoscientific and factually baseless, the cultural impact of the paleo-SETI idea is massive.
Why is it so impactful?
Because it fundamentally reframes the origin of human religion, suggesting our sacred texts are just cargo cult responses to alien visitors.
See.
And that brings us directly to the current reaction to the Trump administration's 2026 Piracy file release.
The sources show that this recent declassification has sent literal shockwaves through certain theological communities. We are seeing religious leaders reacting with genuine alarm.
Yes, we see specific warnings from prominent figures like Pastor Perry Stone. His concern is deeply tied to the mechanics of religious narrative. He argues that if the government definitively confirms that the galaxies are filled with other creations, other intelligent beings, the public will view the biblical creation story as a quaint, localized myth.
Why does that destabilize faith so bad?
Some of us can't
God
repay their
create
rent.
aliens too?
It decenters humanity. For centuries, many Western religious frameworks have placed humanity and the earth at the absolute, unquestioned center of the cosmic narrative.
We are the special.
Social effects we
Exactly.
aim
If
to
disclosure proves we are just
comprehend
one of
the
millions of
Exorcian.
species on a random
What
rock,
does this mean
it's a
for
psychological
development?
blow
We
comparable
wanna
to the
see the
Copernican
government come up
When
with
Copernicus
an
proves
action
that the Earth
plan,
revolves on the
aiming for a
sun,
peace
not the other way
campaign,
around.
universal
Exactly.
peace
Stone
campaign,
explicitly warns
targeted
that
the
this
demons
decentering
and
could lead to
monsters
mass
in the
apostasy,
dreams
with people abandoning traditional Christian faith because their theological framework simply cannot process the existence of extraterrestrials.
Wow.
Other leaders, like Alan Didio, go a step further, suggesting that the entire government disclosure push is a deliberate, orchestrated, demonic plot to undermine traditional Christianity.
But I feel like we need to push back on this fear. Does finding alien life inherently destroy the concept of religion? I'd argue it might just force us to scale it up.
AI.MAG.
Let's talk about the concept of astrofuturism.
Okay.
Well, think about our own trajectory. If we, as a species, manage to survive our own technological adolescence, and we are destined to explore the stars, colonize other planets, genetically engineer biology to survive in deep space,
Right.
and perhaps one day seed life on barren worlds, aren't we just on the long, slow path to becoming the very creator gods that Von Däniken wrote about?
That is the ultimate expression of technological optimism. The belief that our destiny is not just to passively survive the universe, but to evolve into the active architect of the
Social
cosmos.
context.
Exactly.
It reconciles the
And
origin
about
of life by projecting our current capabilities onto our distant future.
But stepping back from the cinematic tropes of Forbidden Planet, stepping away from the conspiracy theories of 1947, and leaving the theological panic aside, what are the actual physicists and astronomers saying about our place in the universe? When we strip away the Hollywood script, what is the hard scientific reality of the alien question right now in 2026?
The scientific reality is currently defined by a profound, statistically agonizing silence. And this paradox is best encapsulated by the Fermi paradox.
Let's explain the mechanics of the Fermi paradox. It started back in 1950, right?
Yes. The brilliant physicist Enrico Fermi was having a casual lunch with colleagues at Los Alamos.
Okay.
They were discussing the vastness of the universe, the billions of stars, and the mathematical high probability of extraterrestrial life. And Fermi famously just stopped and asked out loud, "Where is everybody?"
It seems like a simple question, but the implications are terrifying. Because since 1950, our technological capability to look has exploded.
It really has. We've developed advanced radio astronomy, scanning the cosmos for artificial signals across the electromagnetic spectrum.
Right.
We've sent robotic emissaries like the Voyager probes to the very edge of our solar system. We have mapped the surface of Mars with rovers.
And crucially, since 1992, astronomers have discovered over 5,000 confirmed exoplanets orbiting other stars.
With thousands more candidates pending confirmation by the James Webb Space Telescope.
Right. We now know, as a hard scientific fact, that planetary systems are incredibly common. The math suggests there should be billions of habitable Earth-like worlds just in the Milky Way galaxy alone.
Yet, despite all of this listening with the most sensitive instruments humanity has ever built, we have found zero verified, scientifically accepted evidence of intelligent life beyond Earth.
Nothing.
No structured radio broadcasts, no Dyson spheres or alien megastructures, no von Neumann probes, just cosmic silence.
Which brings us to two of the most chilling concepts in astrophysics to explain this silence: the rare Earth hypothesis and the great filter. Explain the rare Earth concept first.
The rare Earth hypothesis suggests that while simple, single-celled microbial life might be incredibly common in the universe, perhaps thriving under the ice of Europa or in the clouds of Venus, the specific cascading chain of events required to create complex, multicellular, intelligent life is astronomically improbable.
Right, things like needing a Jupiter-sized planet in the outer solar system to deflect asteroids, or a large moon to stabilize the Earth's axial tilt so we have manageable seasons.
Exactly. The hypothesis argues that this specific confluence of protective factors is so incredibly rare that the leap to intelligent technological life has perhaps only happened once here.
And if that's true, as the sources point out, we are the sole ringleaders of the foreseeable universe.
Yeah.
We are a complete fluke of animated chemistry in an otherwise vast, dead, irradiated emptiness. We have no cosmic competition, but we are completely, utterly alone. That is a heavy burden.
It is.
But what's the alternative? What is the great filter?
The Great Filter proposes the opposite starting point. It assumes that intelligent life does arise frequently across the galaxy. However, there is some insurmountable evolutionary or technological hurdle, a filter that predictably prevents every single civilization from advancing far enough to colonize the galaxy and make themselves known.
And the terrifying part of the great filter is the timeline. Is the filter behind us, or is it waiting for us in the future?
That is the existential question. If the filter is behind us, perhaps the incredibly difficult biological leap from single-cell to multi-cell life, then we have survived the hardest part, and the galaxy is ours to inherit.
But if the filter is ahead of us,
If the filter is ahead of us, then the silence of the universe is a graveyard. It implies that every intelligent civilization eventually discovers the means to destroy itself, and universally, without fail, uses it.
what would that modern filter look like for us? Is it the invention of nuclear weapons?
It could be. Or it could be what sociologists call the Anthropocene transition.
Right.
The incredibly dangerous bottleneck where a civilization's industrial capacity alters its own planetary biosphere before it develops the social maturity to manage it. Essentially, failing to survive the climate crisis and resource depletion caused by our own success.
You know, this makes me think about a point from our sources about physics. Why has physics made no significant progress for decades? I mean, since the standard model was finalized, we've been kind of stuck.
It's a very real frustration in the scientific community. We haven't had a major paradigm-shifting breakthrough in fundamental physics in a long time.
And I wonder if that stagnation is exactly why we are so hungry for alien disclosure.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
We feel stuck. We want an extraterrestrial civilization to drop an anti-gravity drive in our lap and save us from the hard work of figuring it out ourselves.
Yeah.
We want a technological savior.
It's the ultimate deus ex machina. We want the aliens to solve our physics problems for us.
Exactly. And speaking of sci-fi solutions to human problems, do you remember that video game series, Crisis, by the German company Crytek?
Oh, right, where the aliens invade.
Yeah. In that game, the advent of a hostile alien threat forces a divided, warring world to unite against a common enemy. It's a classic trope.
It is. The idea that only an external cosmic threat could override our internal tribalism.
But based on what we've seen with the polarized reactions to the Pursuit files, I'm not sure that would actually happen. We'd probably just argue over whether the aliens were real or a false flight operation.
That is a very cynical but probably accurate sociological assessment.
This is why modern SETI is so vitally important. We aren't just looking for neighbors. We are looking for proof that it's possible to survive technological adolescence.
And the methodology of modern SETI is incredibly ironic given our earlier discussion.
How so?
Today, astronomers are deploying massive artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to sift through petabytes of data,
Right.
filtering out space weather and cosmic noise, desperately looking for an anomalous mathematical signal.
That is the ultimate irony. We are using the very technology that Forbidden Planet warned us could be our undoing.
We're building the Krell AI machine.
Exactly. We're building the Krell machine to search the stars for the aliens that Hollywood promised us were out there.
All while a large portion of the public is ignoring the vast, silent cosmos entirely, choosing instead to endlessly scrutinize blurry, pixelated government videos released by the Department of War.
Right.
Convinced the answer to the Fermi paradox is already flying through our own atmosphere in the shape of a bouncy ball.
It perfectly encapsulates the duality of the human condition. We are capable of profound, rigorous scientific inquiry into the origins of the universe.
Yeah.
And simultaneously susceptible to endless, emotionally driven mythological projection.
Exactly. We are rational apes, desperate for magic.
So let's bring this massive journey all together. We started today by looking at the May 2026 Pursuit UFO files released by the government.
Right.
And what we've discovered is that these files ultimately act as a massive cultural mirror.
We really do.
Whether those infrared videos actually show highly classified foreign drone tech, bizarre sensor glitches, or genuinely physics-defying anomalies, our visceral reaction to them is rarely objective.
No, it's not.
Our reaction is entirely dictated by decades of science fiction films. It's dictated by eerie electronic soundscapes designed by audio engineers in the 50s to make us feel dread. It's shaped by our post-Cold War paranoia and by our deep, primal psychological need to not be alone in the dark. We desperately want the gods to be real, even if they have to arrive in a metallic flying saucer to make sense to our modern brains.
This raises an important question, and it is perhaps the most vital takeaway from all the sources we've examined today. It's a thought articulated beautifully by the late astronomer Carl Sagan.
What did he say?
He noted that in the deepest sense, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence is a search for ourselves.
Wow.
If the universe truly is empty, if we are the only spark of consciousness in the void, then humanity's freedom to explore and shape the cosmos is limited only by our own shortcomings. But if we are alone, our greatest existential threat isn't a hostile flying saucer descending from the sky to conquer us. Our greatest threat is whether we can survive the monsters from the eye buried deep within our own minds.
The tribalism.
The tribalism, the aggression, the hubris that our own rapidly advancing electronic technology is constantly threatening to unleash.
It always comes back to the safety deposit box, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We want the definitive answer.
We do.
We want the clean X-ray, the unredacted file that finally tells us who we are and why we are here. But the universe doesn't owe us simplicity. The 2026 UFO files didn't give us the aliens we expected. They gave us a reflection of our own desperate, hopeful, and terrified imagination.
Beautifully said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep watching the skies, but more importantly, keep watching your own subconscious.
Open source license for free. Google's hitting game on the open source community, and there's leverage, see?